AI is horrible at game design, and that shouldn't really be surprising. Because the thing is that like what AI is really good at is generating text documents that look like other text documents. It appears to be good at some other stuff like image generation and video in some cases. It's still kind of like yet to be proven how effective that is in real life scenarios. It's really good for little kind of pet projects, but it's not clear how good it is in production for real stuff. But for my purposes, it's interesting to think about because I also write code and in some of my games, they are digital games. And when it comes to just basic programming problems, I do use AI on a daily basis. Most programmers do these days. And it makes sense that it's good at programming because what programming essentially is writing text documents that follow conventions, right? When you're writing code, you want it to follow the conventions of the programming language that you're using, the frameworks that you're using. You want it to look like code that other programmers write, and other programmers put their code out there and open source. And so like you're able to look at a huge volume of good code. And when you go to write new code, you want your code to look like the good existing code. That's what LLMs are so good at, right? They can ingest a huge amount of data and process that into this kind of like sugar-free vanilla paste version of like, here's the most normal, the most average version of that thing, right? And when you're writing code, that's a good thing. You want to follow those conventions. It makes it easier to read your code. It makes it easier to maintain. It makes it easier to collaborate with other people and just follow the wisdom of people who came before you. But creative work is very different from that, right? I mean, certainly there are conventions in any medium. There's conventions in writing poetry, there's conventions in game design, but also you want to tastefully break those conventions. You want to step outside of them sometimes to do something that's interesting. That's a big part of what makes creative work interesting is like taking what already existed, maybe trying to bring in something new or something unconventional and synthesizing those together in this way that is like intuitive and interesting and feels fresh. That is not something an LLM knows how to do. What an LLM is doing is it's kind of shortcutting that process for you, right? And when you're writing code, that can be really helpful because there are certain parts of it you want to actually shortcut. There's hard programming problems, but then there's also just tedious boilerplate that you have to write on a lot of projects. And the way that a lot of smart programmers use AI is that they will shortcut that boilerplate stuff with AI so that they have more time to work on the interesting, hard problems. But in game design, pretty much the whole thing is the interesting, hard problems. And I've been realizing more and more, it's like, why would you want to shortcut that? Because that is the joy of it. I heard this interview with Elizabeth Gilbert, the writer, recently, and she had written this book, spent years and years on it, and for various reasons was not able to publish it and it didn't come out. She didn't get to go on her book tour. She didn't get the book awards. No one got to read it, basically. And the interviewer was like, are you devastated by this? And she said, no, the whole joy of this thing was figuring out what the shape of it was, pulling on the thread in the darkness and figuring out like, what is the shape of this thing? And she was like, I already got to do that. And so the rest of it is, it's cool. It's icing, run around and get awards and talk to people and do interviews. But she's like, I already got to do the part of it that generates real joy. I felt that really deeply. And I think sitting with these hard problems, these hard game design problems, and coming up with new concepts and trying to figure out how do those new concepts work with my existing concepts. I want to introduce this new type of card, but how does that interact with all these other things? Those are hard problems. They're taxing on your brain. You will probably have to generate a bunch of ideas and test them and take notes and figure out why some of them work and others of them don't work and synthesize and figure out maybe I need to cut this thing. Those are hard creative calls to make, and it's exhausting. And it makes sense why some people might be tempted to shortcut them, but that's the whole joy of the thing. It's like if you're shortcutting them, what are you even doing this for? So not only does AI stink at this job, it also is taking away or shortcutting or attempting to shortcut the real joy of game design. And I've tried it as an experiment. I mean, I don't think that I would ever really try to make like an AI driven board game, but I was curious because I do have all these things sitting in text files, right? And so I took, I keep a like a markdown file of all of the rules of the game, and all the cards are sitting in these JSON files because I do version control in GitHub, and then I use that to like pull them into Figma to generate quick prototypes. And so I have all of this stuff sitting in text documents. And so I experimented. I was just curious. I fed into ChatGPT and Claude. I would say, here's the rules of the game. Here's all the cards I already have. Here's all my playtesting notes. Come up with 20 more ideas. Diagnose some problems in the game design and come up with some new ideas. And the ideas it came up with were horrible. They were no good. I mean, they basically would take what I had already made and just spit out this like generic vanilla paste. It would be like a slight modification of something I already had in the game, or things that just felt like they were directly lifted from other games. And it just didn't, none of the ideas were any good. And so I said, I prompted it a little differently. I said, no, come up with 20 really divergent, interesting, different ideas. Don't do this kind of normal, generic LLM thing you normally do. Give me something fresh and different. And the ideas it came up with were different. They were so far afield from kind of everything that I wanted. It just felt like it was a tonally way off. And this does make sense because the way that I arrive at these ideas is I have taste in the games that I like. I have an intuition when I play my own games where I like some parts of it and dislike other parts of it. And I need to follow that intuition, follow kind of what's working for me and what's not working for me to figure out some sort of other solution. The LLMs, the AI tools that I'm using, they don't get to watch a playtest and see the look on other people's faces. They don't know my taste. They don't know my intuition. It doesn't have intuition. It's autocomplete, right? And so it makes a lot of sense that it would actually be no good at this. The one place where I have used it that I am now second guessing is art. So don't get me wrong, I would never make a game and actually try to sell it with AI art. I think that would be dark and terrible. I think AI art is kind of soulless and just doesn't look very good. But while I'm prototyping, I have thrown AI art in there because it makes the prototype look much better. And I feel conflicted about this because I want to work with an artist. I want to go to them and say, here's all my references. Here's, the vision for the game. Let's work together to come up with a style for this. That's what I did on Colossi. And the references I used were, pictures of nature. And the artist had a huge portfolio, Sean Thurlow. He's amazing. And I pointed to stuff in his portfolio. I was like, I like this and I like this. And he picked up on it. And it was this like magical, collaborative, artistic experience. And I loved it. And I really want to make sure that I preserve that and that I do that again. And I'm wondering if using AI art in my prototypes has tainted that a little bit, where now I have a vision in my head of what this game looks like, and it's what it looks like with AI art, which is not even really what I want to, the style that the AI spat out is like not even really what I want to do. It just makes the prototype feel so much more real. So I'm conflicted though, because I'm like, when it comes time to give them references, I don't want to give them references that are AI art. I don't want to be anchored to this style that is AI art. And I would love to be able to say when the game comes out, I didn't use AI on this at all, because I feel like increasingly that's going to be an important thing for creative people and artists to say, is like, this is a human-made thing. So I don't know. I haven't made any bold decisions yet about whether I want to keep it or get rid of it, but I have used a little bit of AI art, and I'm thinking about taking it all out because of how strongly I feel about this, that AI stinks at the creative process. It stinks at brainstorming new cards. It's not good at game design. And I kind of want to keep it out.